Hey Playas, how you doing? Welcome back to Playas Guide. This episode of Playas Guide is on Retro Future Games for the NES. Now, if you don't know what Retro Futurism is, basically Retro Futurism is in the past, people thought about what the future might look like. A really good example of this is in Back to the Future 2. The future was an alternate future that Marty McFly went to, but it's not the future that we know today. We know this because that time has already come and gone. Well, there's some games like this or along the lines of this on the NES. And with the popularity of cyberpunk right now, I thought I would cover some retro futuristic games for NES fans. Now, some of these you might have heard of, but even still, they're worth taking a look at and revisiting. So first up is Street Fighter 2010 from Capcom. Now I'm sure you've seen this game around, maybe you've played it or heard about it, but it's really nothing like the other Street Fighter games, which you might think. It's not really a fighting game at all. It's more of an action platformer. There is some fighting going on, but it's more so like intertwined with the platforming of the game. Now, you play as Ken, who is out to rescue his friend, and Ken has like cybernetic implants, so, and like short blonde hair. So maybe, they got something right with the blonde hair, but otherwise really nothing to do with the Street Fighter fighting games that, we all know and love. What I do think is really cool about this game is that the stages really vary in length. Some of them are super short, some of them are just a boss fight, and some of them are a bit longer. They're a full playable stage, and I like the way that this game really breaks the mold on what platformers are. It changes things up, having Ken teleport from different planets and dimensions within the game universe. So Street Fighter 2010, I think, is a pretty common game, so you shouldn't have any trouble picking this one up for a reasonable price. Shatterhand. Now, this game I've always thought to be common, but it's a little bit harder to get your hands on now because of how popular this game has become. Many people would say that it is a hidden gem on the NES, and the only argument that I could make there is that it's not so hidden anymore. So this game was released by Jalico, which, they have quite a few good games. They're not the best company, but the game was made by Natsume, and Natsume has really made some awesome games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, in this game, you play as a cop who lost his arms and had them replaced by cybernetic arms that can just basically smash through anything. Hence the name of the game, Shatterhand. Now, this is an action platformer, and it's one of the best action platformers on the NES. It takes place in the year 2030, and you start off with one stage, but once you've beat that one stage, a whole world opens up where you can select between 5 different playable stages and take them down in any order you'd like. Throughout these stages, you gather health and power-ups. You also collect these symbols, which have a combination of 8 different robots. So there's 8 different combinations, and each one gives you a different robot that will assist you and has its own sort of power that will enhance your attack or add to your attack. And these robots come in really handy in some of the boss fights. The bosses are really cool. The enemies are all really cool. This is just a great game. If you don't have it, you're going to want to add it to your collection. It's not the cheapest game anymore, and it's not the most common game anymore, but it is well worth adding to your collection. I think it's still pretty affordable because it isn't really a rare game. Clash Ball. So I thought I'd throw a sports game in here. Clash Ball is a 2-player game. This was made by Softball. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Now, it originally came out as a game called Speedball. It wasn't released on the Nintendo Entertainment System until 1991. Before that, it was available on the Sega Master System, the Atari ST, Commodore 64, Amiga, and the MS-DOS. I haven't played any of those versions, but Clash Ball is, to me, a pretty cool game. It combines, I would say, hockey and football. So you're trying to get a ball into a net or like a goal, and you tackle and take down and intercept the ball from your opponent's team. And the ball also like shoots out of like a thing in the middle. They really went for like a cyberpunk look with this game. This is a common game, pretty cheap. It's one of the better sports games, I would say, on the NES. It's obviously not a traditional sports game, so if you're looking for something traditional, it's not too far off, but it isn't, it's not baseball, football, soccer, or hockey. It is its own thing. SCAT. Now, I know what you might be thinking here, but SCAT actually stands for Special Cybernetic Attack Team. So again, cybernetics. The original game was going to be named Action in New York, and in PAL regions it was. This game's by Natsume. It's pretty rare and hard to come by, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive, the most expensive game on this list. And this is like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up where it's a 2-player game, so you can play with a partner, and you are defending the city or Earth, because they don't specify necessarily in the North American version that it is New York that's being destroyed. Anyways, it's like an alien invasion. There's a bunch of robots and stuff, and you can collect a bunch of power-ups throughout the game. Typical of any shoot 'em up. This one's pretty good. I find this one to be pretty challenging. I don't think it's a very easy game. I'm not the best person in the world at shoot 'em ups. But I did think it's pretty cool. This one takes place in 2029, so not too far away, people. This is what we got to look forward to. Journey to Silius. This is a game by Sunsoft. It takes place in the year, the space age year of 0373. I wanted to get the years of these games so that you guys could see what I'm talking about with the Retro Futurism. Because, like, Street Fighter 2010 is past. That was 11 years ago. But, playing that game in 2009, I was thinking to myself, so this is what next year is going to look like. Anyways, it didn't. But back to Journey to Silius. This is a really cool game that I never put too much time into. It is challenging, and it has kind of a cool history. I actually learned this from somebody in the chat on Twitch. They mentioned that the game was supposed to be based on Terminator from 1984, and I guess the opening sequence was supposed to be like something like John Connor, and then he goes back in time. Really cool game. Haven't played all the way through it, but I do want to. I'm going to put more time into this one because I do think it's worth it. It is an uncommon game. It shouldn't be too expensive. You might even be able to find a bargain on this one. And I would recommend picking up all of these games if you're able to come across them, because they're worth playing and adding to your NES collection. As well as if you're a fan of cyberpunk or retro futurism. I know I am. I listen to a lot of retro or new retro wave, and I think it's just really cool, and I have a lot of nostalgia for that because of a lot of these interesting movies from the 80s and early 90s that really sort of focused around retro futurism and what the future might look like or might hold. There's some pretty interesting movies and games that are way out there. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will consider doing a follow-up if it does get enough likes. If there's other games you'd like to see included in a follow-up, leave them in the comments below. Make sure to check out Playas Guide on Twitch and subscribe to the channel. You can find Playas Guide on Discord. There's a link below, and on Twitter and Instagram if you're on those apps too. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for this episode, and I hope you liked it. I got some help with the editing from Chris from Do You Even 80s Bro. Now, if you've never heard of Do You Even 80s Bro, I'll put a link in the description below, and I'll also add an annotation here that'll take you over to the Do You Even 80s Bro website. Do You Even 80s Bro, Chris and Ken are both great guys. They're part of the Playas Guide stream team, and you can catch them every Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, live on Playas Guide, and they talk about games, movies, a little bit of music, and toys and other collectibles from the 80s, and a little bit of the early 90s even. And like I said, check out their channel, catch them on Playas Guide Monday nights. Thanks so much, Chris, for editing this video, and I'll catch you later, Playas.